Good day, my name is Abu Sunday. In this video, I'm going to show you how we can use Atlas feature with an integration of Python code to generate multiple maps in QGIS. Okay, as you can see, we have orthophoto with the boundary line. Okay, so now the first thing we need to do is to generate a grid for this particular boundary because we want to produce a map for this whole area. And then if you decide to use just one map, you know, depend on the level of resolution that you want, it will not be clear. Okay, so we need to divide this boundary into different grid so that we can now produce the map for each of the grid. Okay, and then with the help of the Atlas generation, we can be able to generate the whole map with just a click. Okay, so please follow this step. It's very simple step. So now the first thing we need to do is to generate a vector grid. Now, if you don't have this processing tool showing on your screen, you can go to under process and make sure your processing tools is on. If you click on it, it will display here. Okay, so what you need to do is that you just search for vector grid. Okay, you can just search for vector grid, or you can just type your grid like this. Okay, so we have grid. We have the one that I just used recently, which is vector grid, and then we have the vector grid. So you pick any of them. So I'll just click on this. All right, now this is the dialog box for vector grid, where we will generate our vector grid. Now the first thing to do is our grid extent. Okay, we need to select the extent of our grid. So for us to do that, you click on this button here and use layer/canvas extent, and then you select the layer that you want to generate the grid for, which is the boundary. Okay, and then you click OK. So you see we have the coordinate of the grid. Okay, for now the next thing is the spacing for the grid. Okay, what spacing? Now the space that you're going to use will be determined by the level of resolution you want, and then the paper size. Okay, so depend on the paper size you are producing your map on, and then the resolution that you want also will determine the spacing. But for this particular video, we are going to use a spacing of 100. Okay, y-axis we use 100 also. So you test different grid size to fall within your resolution. So if you make use of a particular value and then it's not okay, you can change it. You can use 500, you can use 50, you can use 1000, you can use 5000. You understand? So depend on what fits to what you want. So you can use different spacing. Now under the grid type, click on this arrow. You make sure that your output polygon, okay, the output grid, it should come as polygon. Okay, output grid as polygon. Then under the save button, you create a temporary layer first, so that if your grid is okay, then you can now save it as okay, so that it will save to your folder. Okay, so now I'll click on run, then I'll select the coordinate reference system. Okay, so as you can see, we have our grid on the boundary. Okay, so now the next thing is for us to query this grid. Now by querying this, there's some grid that is not in touch with the boundary. You don't have any relationship with the boundary, it's not touching it, it's not within the boundary, and it's not touching the boundary line. Okay, so in that case, we need to remove those grids because we are not producing map. We are producing a map within, and for grid that are within the boundary and possibly the one that touch the boundary. Okay, so that we can be able to generate all the informations we want for the map. Okay, now, so for us to do that, you go to your processing tool. Okay, and then use select by location. So I'll search select. Okay, so now you see we have select by location, so I'll double click on it. Okay, then now layer to select from, we are selecting from grid, and then additional layer is the boundary. Now based on this, the geometric predicate, we are going to select the grid that is disjoint with the boundary. Okay, so now if you look at it now, we have intersection, contain, disjoint, touches, overlap, within. Okay, so we want the one that is disjoint. Okay, we want the one that is disjoint, that they don't have any relationship with the boundary at all. So if it's that, if you select disjoint, then you just click on run. Okay, so you can see it now select all the grid that don't have any relationship with the boundary. Okay, so if that is done, then I'll click on this grid, I'll start edit, and then I'll delete this grid that we don't need. Okay, now the next step is for us to open the attribute table of the grid and then remove some features from it and then add other features. So now I'll open the attribute of this grid that we just created. Okay, then now you see all these x maximum and y maximums that we have here, and we don't need them. We don't need this coordinate that is here, so we need to just remove it. So I will click on delete field, and then I'll remove all this and leave only the ID. Okay, then I'll go to add field, that is a new field. I'll click on it, then I'll now add block because I want to produce the map based on block, so I'll call it block. Then the type is going to be whole number, and then the length is 5. Okay, then I'll click OK from here. Now the next thing is just for us to generate the numbers here for the block. Okay, the numeric number for the block. So we need to generate the number serially, right? Okay, so for us to do that, we need to use some Python code, little Python code to do that. Okay, so for us to do that, you click here and select the block, and then you come to this place and then type $ row num. Okay, so you see that it changed to black. That's to say your algorithm or your expression is correct. If it is not correct, let's assume it is, instead of M I use N, you see that it's red. That is to say it cannot be able to generate what you want. Okay, it's not active. Now if I change it to M, which is row num, okay, then I'll click on update. You see, so we have our number from 1 to 40. All right, now after that, we can minimize this and go back to your grid. Okay, now the next thing is for us to create a rule for this grid. Okay, create a rule for it so that we can add some little Python expressions or Python code so that it can be able to generate an auto grid for us. Okay, now I'll double click on this grid. Right, double click on it so that the property of the grid will come out. All right, so you see we go to style. Now under the style, you go to rule base. Okay, we are going to add a rule. Now the first polygon here, which is the first row, you click on this polygon. Okay, we need to edit the rule that we have here so that we can put our own rule that will work based on what we want. Now under the filter, click on this button. Okay, now we are going to input an expression or a Python code which is $ID is equals to Atlas feature ID. So now you can type it or you can select from an existing expression here. Now if we go to record, we have our $ID here. Okay, then click on equal to here, and then you go to variable Atlas feature ID. Okay, so this is what we need here, and then you click OK. Now we have input the expression here. Then you click on this your field, and then make your field here to be transparent, and then the color you can change it to possibly red. Okay, let's use red, and then you can increase the thickness, okay, to 0.6. Okay, then I click OK. Now we need to add another rule, because we now input that, okay, that this color is equals to Atlas feature ID. So now any features that have an ID should show this color. Okay, so if you are in an ID 1, if you are in block 1, it will be red. Then if this block 1 is red, then the rest will be another different color, right? So now the next rule now will be based on that. So I will click on add rule. Okay, then under the filter, I'll write X, like, or S. Okay, S like this, S. Okay, then I'll click on this, and then I'll make this transparent as well, and then I can make this to be blue. Okay, then I'll click OK from here. All right, I don't need to make this one thick, because what our main focus is on this. Okay, so after that we can click OK from here. So you see we have this expression now. Okay, everything is showing X now because our Atlas features is not active yet. Okay, now having set this, now the next thing is for us to go to a composer. Okay, now for this training I'm going to show you how you can use your Atlas feature on composer. So if you want to learn more on how to use composer and how to set up your composer, you can refer to our previous video on producing standard map. Okay, so now I'll go to composer manager. Now we'll select from an existing template, so I'll go to specific. Now we have A3 map here, so we can use it, or you can go to your template and select the ones you want. So I'll use this A3 template, and then I'll click open. Okay, then you add, then I can call it map 1. Okay, then I'll click, and then I click OK. All right. Okay, so you see we have our composer here. Now, as I said, this is the title of the composer. We have made explanation of all this in our previous video, so you can do that. But the main thing I'm going to show you is how you can make your Atlas feature active here, and that will make it work. Okay, so now what we'll do is we add our map, add new map. Okay. Okay, so you see we add the map now. You can adjust your map to fit to the guide. Okay. All right. So now from here you see that we have a composition. Okay, we have composition, we have item, and then we have Atlas. Okay, so now for this we are going to use Atlas generation. So I'll click on Atlas generation, then I'll click on generate an Atlas. Okay, then under configuration we have coverage layer. We are using the grid as the coverage area. Then page, we are using block. Okay, then filter, we'll leave the filter, and then we'll use sort by. Okay, sort by block. Okay, click on block, sort by block. Now under the output file name, the output file name is what it means is that when you export your map, what is going to show, like now if you export your map now, all the block now, let's say it will going to be block output 1, output 2. So now if you don't want it to be output, you can change it to block. Okay, but so now instead of leaving it at this output, now you can remove this output. Make sure you don't tamper with the code. Then you select, you type your block. Okay, then you go to your item property. Okay, under the item property, you go down and then select control by Atlas. Okay, now concerning the scale, now this is the scale. Now, as I said, the scale varies depending on the kind of work or the kind of resolutions you want, and then the paper size. So now for this video, we are going to use a scale of 500. Okay, so we wait for it to load. Okay, so we are having uh, okay, so you see we have the scale of 500 which fits well because this is a focus grid. Okay, so you can use 500. So depend on the scale and the resolution you want to use. Now, one thing is that if you leave this scale here, it will not going to be fixed. You understand? And then if your scale keep changing, your work will not be perfect, and it will not be uniform as well, based on the fact that you are going to generate it at once. So for us to make this thing fixed, for it to be 500 throughout the map, I will copy this or cut it, and then you go to click on this button, click on edit, then under the expression builder string, you paste it here, 500, and then you click OK. So now you see that your edit is active, and then it's 500. So throughout the blocks, it's going to be using the scale 500. Okay. Now, then the next thing is our title. You know, the title of your map is going to be constant. The only thing that will change is the block. Okay, so now we can type our title normally. You understand the normal way you do your title, your map composer. So I can just say map map showing land boundaries. Okay, map showing land boundaries. Okay, now you can remove this or you can shift it. Land boundary. Okay, so let me remove this. Okay, now we want to put the legend, which is something that we are going to use the Atlas to generate some of the legend for the Atlas feature ID for each of the block, because each of the block now the lines will be different. Okay, so you need to represent that in the legend. So I'll click on legend, and then I'll add my legend normally the way we add legends. Okay, then under the title we remove legend. We don't need it based on the standard. Okay, then the boundary, we need the boundary. This grid, we don't need the grid. Okay, but not that you remove it, you have to, okay, before you do that, click on auto update. Then I will click on this to come down. Okay, and then click on edit. Okay, then we'll now delete the grid so that the grid will not show there. Then we remove this group, we don't need it. Okay, now so we have this here. Then we can increase from the symbol so that it will be big. Okay, we'll use 15 and 9. Okay, okay, so now here is the boundary. Then this red is the block number. Okay, then this is the other blocks. Okay, now I can edit this and then call it other blocks. Okay, then this particular one that is going to be block number we are going to use an expression here because we cannot write a fixed number here, so it need to be changing per each block that we generate. So now, instead of that, I'll use the text here, and then I'll add it here. Okay, now I can remove this QGIS, then I'll insert expression. Okay, then go to field and value, and then click on block. You click OK. Okay, then at the back of this block, you type block. Okay, so you see we have our block now. All right, so now, all right, so if you do all your check, and then we add the scale, let's add a scale. Let's add a scale and then make it numeric. Okay, so that we see the 500 that we use. You can add the other graphic scales also if you want. Okay, so I'll add this scale. I'll arrange it based on standard. Okay, now you can continue do your normal arrangement, add the other things you need, the logo and the rest. Okay, now but the main thing is just for us to represent this. So now I'll position this thing well. Okay, I'll position it well. All right, so now we have filled all what we need. Okay, now for the atlas to be active now, we need to click on preview atlas. So you see we have preview atlas here, so I'll click on it, preview atlas. Okay, so you can see that okay, this block now is red, which is active, and then you see that we're having block 1. Okay, now if I click on next, this is 1 now. If I click on next feature, okay, you see it's changed to block 2, and then your grid also move. Now if you go to our QGIS, you see we have it here. You see that it's in block 2 now. So as you are changing it, it is being changed immediately. Okay, so now this is how you produce your atlas map generation. So now you have prepared your map. As I said, you make arrangement, add your map overview, the note that is needed, and then the map logos and all that. If you don't know how to do it, refer back to our previous videos on standard map productions. Okay, so now this is how you can generate an atlas map using an integration of Python code on QGIS. Okay, now so having do this arrangement, now the final step is for you to export the map. So what you need to do is just click on this button here, export atlas as an image. So I'll click on it. Okay, then I'll export it as atlas okay, I'll export it as atlas image. Okay, all right, then I'll go to where I want to put my map. So go to my desktop, CAD Training. There's desktop and then CAD. I can open a new folder and then I call it map. Okay, then I'll select it and then choose, and then the export resolution is 300 dpi. The other information is constant, and then you click save. So you see that your map will start exporting. So it will definitely take some time. So it will depend on the size and the number of your blocks that you want to produce. Okay, so So it's exporting now, 5%. So we are going to pause this video and then we'll come back when the export finish, and then we'll see the exported files. Okay. Okay, so as you can see, it has finished exporting. So we'll go back to the folder where we save the exported map. So this is the map here. If you click on it, so we see we have the map here. So if you click on this map, block 1, you see we have block 1, and then this is the other blocks which is showing on this legend, and then this is the block 1. So if you go to the next, you see we have block 2. Go to the next, we have block 3. Go to the next, we have block 4. Okay, so now this is how you produce a map on QGIS using Atlas map generation with a little integration of Python code. Okay, thank you very much for watching.